Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Vijf Vragen, or Five Questions, as we would say in English. This is our podcast featuring the people of the Netherlands' diplomatic network here in the U.S. Or, I should say, that's who I usually talk with, to dive deeper into the strong bonds between the United States and the Netherlands. But we're changing it up again. I'm Jeff Allenack from the Embassy's Communications Office, and I'm talking with Kevin Lieberman, one of the next generation of carillonneurs for the Netherlands Carillon here in the D.C. area. Thank you for joining me today, Kevin.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I asked you to join me today to talk about the Carillon and your experience as a carillonneur. But before we ring the bells of that conversation, I'd like to start with a more basic question. What's your background and how'd you end up as a carillonneur for the Netherlands Carillon?
Sure. So kind of ironically, I got connected to the Carillon as a leader in the Jewish community, which is a bit ironic because there's such a strong associations with carillons and churches. I grew up in the DC area, didn't really hear carillons in my neighborhood, but the summer before college, I worked as a tour guide for a hop-on, hop-off bus in DC, and we would go past the Netherlands Carillon. And that's the first time I had heard of a carillon, but I never had been exposed to bell towers before.
So you're passing by as part of the
tour, I had to look up how do you pronounce carillon and what is it? Yeah. And that was my first experience. And the Netherlands Carillon was my first exposure to a carillon.
This one here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then fast forward a bit, I was in grad school doing a PhD in engineering at the University of Michigan, and I was the leader of the Jewish graduate student community. And there are two carillons on campus, and we would sometimes hear them play Jewish songs around Jewish holidays.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it was surprising, but also meant a lot to us to hear a song like that in the public sphere. So I met the carillonist of the university, Dr. Tiffany Ang.
Is that the proper word, carillonist?
So this is a great question. So this is kind of a side thing. There's a growing movement to use the term carillonist, and some people prefer using that than the word carillonneur. Some other people prefer to use the word carillonneur. And the motivation is just that the origin of the word carillonneur in certain contexts could be associated with someone who is male, whereas carillonist doesn't have the same ties to gender.
Oh, okay. But it's never carillon player or carillon pounder or anything.
Usually you'll hear carillonneur or carillonist nowadays.
Okay, but let's go back. So
I met Dr. Tiffany Ang, and she's really been a champion to diversify carillon music, carillon culture, and she teaches the carillon course at the University of Michigan. And I signed up in January of 2020 as a PhD student. We could take any class at the university. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened, and I had a lot of time to practice, and I don't think I would have gotten as far had it not been COVID. So I advanced. I ended up playing the university, a half-hour recital for the university every Friday. Okay. And the week after I graduated, I happened to come home to DC, and that was the week of the rededication ceremony for the Netherlands Carillon.
Oh, that was 23?
I think 2022.
22, yeah. Okay. I was there. I can...
It was great. It was really exciting. Mm-hmm. And I met Ed Nasser, who is the director carillonneur for the Netherlands Carillon. Mm-hmm. And he has really worked to help create opportunities for a group of us to volunteer and play the carillon at the Netherlands Carillon, and also play recitals over the summer.
Okay. That's quite a combination. So you have a PhD in engineering and you play the carillon on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So in some ways, if you hadn't gone to Michigan to earn your PhD, you might not be here today playing the carillon.
No, probably not. I mean, honestly, if there wasn't COVID, I don't know if I would have advanced to be able to give recitals.
Because that gave you the time to, is it?
Yeah, it gave me the time to play. I mean, there was nothing else to do. It was the reason to put on clothes and get out of the pajamas and go to the bell tower. But to hit on that point, I think there are these questions about how do you become a carillonneur or carillonist and get into the community. And part of it is that a lot of people learn while they're in college. It's not like gymnastics where if you're 5 years old and you haven't started yet, you're not going to make it to the Olympics. A lot of people start later in life.
Do you play any other instruments?
I'd played piano growing up. Never really practiced as much as I should have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a link between playing the carillon and
I think it helps reading music. The way that the carillon keyboard is structured is similar to a piano in certain ways. So I should say, if anyone is interested in seeing what a carillon keyboard looks like.
We'll show it.
We'll have videos here, but also I can plug this later too. But the Guild of Carillonneurs in North America has videos on their website, gcna.org. And you can see people playing, and those videos are annotated. But the way the carillon keyboard is laid out is that there are keys that are played by your hands. Sometimes people call them batons.
Right.
And there's two levels. So the lower level would be like your white keys on a piano. The upper level would be like your black keys on the piano. So there's a bit of that, but with a carillon, you also play with your feet. You play with pedals. And that was a whole new experience to me, having just learned piano.
Okay. So, and you're a volunteer doing this. You're not, this isn't your day job,
No,
right?
this is, we volunteer over the summer. Over the summer there's a carillon recital series.
Yeah.
And during the year, we have the opportunity to practice as volunteers. So I should be clear, I'm not employed by the Park Service for volunteer. I don't speak for the government. But what's nice is that on Sunday afternoons now, there's a group of us who practice on the keyboard or on the carillon. But what's also nice is that while we're practicing, everyone can hear it. So they also kind of serve as these mini
So
concerts.
the practicing, and we're going to show that when we're in a few minutes. When you play that, it'll make a sound outside. It's not just here.
So we have two ways to practice.
Okay.
So there is a practice keyboard that is located at Arlington Cemetery.
Which is where we are right now.
Which is where we are right now. It was given by Eisbouts in the recent renovation. And that is almost like an electric keyboard where when we press down on the pedals or on the manuals, the keys with our hands, it will create a synthetic sound.
Okay.
And that allows us to do the really kind of slow, early learning for a piece. The limitations of it is that it doesn't replicate the amount of force you need to play on the carillon itself. Kind of in the same way an electric keyboard doesn't really feel like a real piano. And so we will then practice on the actual carillon. At first, it's always this kind of weird thing in that, I mean, we prepare enough beforehand so it doesn't sound horrible, but you get used to making mistakes in front of the public and getting used to it. Like I think it's a great way to build character. You get used to messing up in front of thousands of people and you know it's okay.
It's funny. You actually jumped ahead to one of my questions I was going to ask later, which is how do you practice? And we'll show that here. But so I don't picture you walking around with a tuba, hauling around like you're going to band practice, right? Marching band practice. So it really is coming here in this building, playing on the practice keyboard. And then you said on Sundays, you're in the real one.
So right now we are practicing on Sundays and on the actual Netherlands Carillon. The schedule is being posted by the National Park Service. So if you go to the website for the National Park Service and the Netherlands Carillon, you'll see events there. Right now we're practicing around 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And there's a group of us who play, and we'll go up, we'll play certain pieces or we'll practice, and then it's kind of been an interesting thing in that afterwards we'll go down the tower and no one will know that it was us who were just playing. So we've actually been working with the Park Service to get some sort of ID so people know. Is
that comforting or discomforting to know that you just played and nobody knows it was you? Is the anonymity a good thing?
I think the good thing about it is that you've got a group of people who are really kind of focused on service and serving the community. And it's and in certain ways, it's not about the glory of us. I think the missed opportunity there is that there's people who have questions. And then for us, it's kind of interesting because, if I was going to say if I'm practicing, but I've given recitals where I've messed up a lot. And so I'll sometimes joke with friends and say, people don't know that it's a person. So we'll let them think the computer was really bizarre today.
Glitch.
Right. And then on the other hand, there's times where I'll feel like, wow, I didn't expect to do so well. And I did. And did anyone catch that? And sometimes at Michigan, I would go outside and to the belfry and look out, and you can't see a soul. Like no one heard it.
It's too bad there's not like a live stream set up there where you can...
So there are some carillons where you can go online and find some live streams of carillons, and it's neat to see. For me, who even plays, it's neat to see other carillonneurs playing and to see their technique and really admire how they play the instrument. But also, it's like anything, right? It's not the same as being there.
No. Well, part of the reason we are recording this podcast today is to coincide with the Freedom Concert on May 5th. Can you describe the feeling of playing a musical instrument that is both a symbol of friendship between our two nations, but also a symbol of freedom and the gratitude of a generation?
Yeah, so I've been kind of reflecting on the ideas of freedom and friendship in the Netherlands Carillon for a while. And, I'm not in the diplomatic community. And so at first I kind of thought, oh, this is kind of some higher kind of diplomatic speak. And I was always kind of reflecting, like, what does this mean to me? And I think about two things. It's a monument, but it's a living monument in that it's played. And what means a lot to me is that the Netherlands and the Park Service really want the carillonneurs to play the music of the community. The reason why that's significant is that if you look at the history of carillons, there have been cases where countries would invade and occupy other countries and dictate what sort of music was to be played, or the anthems of the other country were to be played. And the Netherlands Carillon kind of flips that narrative. And it's one of the few cases where you have a country giving a carillon to another country and letting them play that music of their own country. Going back to the 1960s, when Frank Law, who was an American, would play the Netherlands Carillon, he required that all of the visiting carillonneurs would play some sort of recognizable music to the community. And there's a tradition of playing the music of the community here.
Well, how do you choose the music that you play?
Yeah, so I think there's the rigorous answer and the unrigorous answer. The unrigorous answer is that I get text messages from friends telling me that they're coming. And
they have requests. So they have
a
request line.
It's like my friend Jonathan came last week, and I know he used to work at the Holocaust Museum. And so there's some pieces from the Holocaust that I've arranged for the Carillon. So it's like, all right, I'll play that first. Or I have another friend, Josh, who serves in the Navy. He texted me saying I'm running 20 minutes late. So it's like, all right, I'll play the patriotic set a little bit later when it comes.
Okay.
So there's that piece. I think
it's nice to have that straight line to you where you can
where
your friends can reflect the playlist.
And also, like, after I played last week, there was a woman lives right by the Carillon. She came by and asked if you could play some Beethoven.
Okay.
I was like, well, I don't have Beethoven ready yet, but I have some Chopin. She's like, yes, please play the Chopin. So there's that. I think when we do concerts, we think about how do we put pieces together so that we can create some sort of message. So pieces sometimes together create certain context that can provide new meaning.
Right.
When I was at Michigan, I can't remember actually if I did this intentionally or not, but I played pieces from Fiddler on the Roof, and then it was right after Russia invaded Ukraine. And so we were all playing the Ukrainian national anthem at the time.
Okay.
So I played it right afterwards, and a woman wrote in on Facebook saying she was really moved by that combination of music from Fiddler on the Roof, which took place kind of Ukraine-ish, and then the national anthem afterwards, and it gave it new meaning. I would say also when we think about the themes.
Like a theme to a concert, to one recital.
Yep, or we'll have like different themes or groupings in what we play. The other thing that we think about is, right, what sort of music is going to resonate with the community, and also what is just nice carillon music. There is a lot of music that was written for carillon, that was written in mind with the unique characteristics of a carillon, and that is going to sound better than music that was not written for carillon in mind. And so we kind of want to highlight both of those things. I will share, though, that I think when people would reflect on a carillon concert, it's not just the music. It means something to the community to have this structure that is broadcasting music out into the community that in some places are tied to authoritative structures or government structures like churches or city halls. And to hear certain music that has meaning to them personally played from a carillon means a lot to them.
What's your favorite aspect of playing the Netherlands Carillon? Is there you already mentioned that there are several of you. Is there a network of carillonneurs that you're part of?
Yeah, so there are right now about 6 or 7 of us who are volunteering. and we'll play on the weekends. We also, I think we're all in our 20s and early 30s, so we hang out, we go on field trips to different carillons in the area.
Okay.
And it's also really nice to listen to each other play. We all play slightly different music. And so I will sometimes practice on the Netherlands Carillon and play for an hour. And then Liam will go behind me and he'll play for an hour. And it's, first off, really nice to hear him play. But then we also get to see the public reacting to him playing as well. And it's to hear him and Hunter and Michelle, all the carillonneurs play. It's really inspiring. And it's nice to be part of a community that lifts each other up here.
And what do you do after a concert? You mentioned you're in your 20s and 30s.
We go back on the metro and live our lives. Yeah, no,
go home,
yeah, just go. I mean, we'll chat with people sometimes. At Michigan, when I would play, the general public could go up the tower and they could come in the playing cabin and we would chat.
Oh, okay.
And so that
but we can't hear, right? This one is not open to the public.
Not this time. We'll hang around and chat with people sometimes.
So they wait for you to come down? Or is it more
if I have friends here, they'll wait. I think it's actually interesting. I think the way that the Netherlands Carillon is designed, one of the pillars of the carillon or one of the walls blocks the view of the door. So we'll kind of emerge from the door and slip out. And I don't think it occurs to people that we were the ones playing.
Oh.
So that's why we're trying to get some sort of
on the ground level, you mean?
On the ground level, yeah. People usually don't know. And
maybe they thought you just
what will happen is people will sometimes come up to me and say, not knowing that I was just playing, and they'll say, "Oh, did you hear the Carillon is playing right now?" Or "Did you hear there's a concert coming up this Saturday?"
Yeah.
And I'll just play and say, "Yeah, I'm playing that concert." So.
Well, the next concert I can think of, the big one, is May 5th, the Freedom Concert.
There's a Freedom Concert, yes.
I'll put a link. There's some more information on our website about that. In the description of this podcast, I'll put a link to that information because anybody can just come.
I've been telling all my friends to go. It's fun. Y'all had stroopwafel last year, which was great. I'm very easy to please. And Princess Marie was here too.
She was. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a special one. It can be hard to get a member of the royal family over for that. Wish we could do it every year, but it's just not in the cards. Is there anything else about the Carillon that I should know, or
you should know,
or that you would like to talk about? What's your favorite kind of music to play?
Well, so I like playing a lot of recognizable music and songs that have been arranged for the Carillon, and it gets back at this thing that I think is kind of like I don't want to say it's an uncomfortable point for the Carillon community, but people really appreciate recognizable music. And people write in about that. They don't necessarily write in, to me at least. That my experience has been that people don't write in when I play pieces that were composed for the Carillon. They write in about music that they recognize, that they have memories associated with it.
So they might have heard on the radio growing up, you mean?
Yeah, so here's an example. So I played a set of music from Fiddler on the Roof at Michigan, and a woman who worked in the development office emailed us and said that she went out to the plaza by the Carillon for her lunch. Yeah. And she said her daughter is getting married in a month. And she said, "You started playing Sunrise, Sunset from Fiddler on the Roof, and I was just sobbing into my rice and beans. It was so meaningful to me."
Yeah.
And similarly, when we play, I think we try to play music of different communities. And if you talk with a number of carillonneurs and you ask them what have been some of the most meaningful experiences for you, what I noticed is that a lot of them talk about how they played a piece of a minority community, and that community really felt loved and responded really positively to it. And they were surprised in a great way about how much it was meaningful to them. So I similarly, when I play, try to think about, all right, how do we represent all the different music of the different communities here in DC and everyone who's coming by related to that. I think what's really exciting to me about what's happening now in the Carillon world is that there are a number of people working to diversify Carillon music and create opportunities for people from all backgrounds to play the Carillon.
Are you talking like top 40 music, or is it really like Broadway show tunes, or what?
People play all sorts of stuff. I think about how Like at many universities,
Yeah.
what you'll find, there are a number of universities that have carillons.
Okay.
And the music is played by students. And yet, because there are these tall towers, the towers with the carillons in the student newspapers will frequently be used to represent the administration and administrative policies. But the carillon is played by students. And when you ask the students what they're playing the music of video games, they're playing Ariana Grande, they're playing music from movies, they're playing music for their boyfriends or girlfriends, they're playing music for their friends. Mm-hmm. And so it's much more personal than people expect. On the note of things being personal, another thing that I appreciate about the Netherlands Carillon that I don't think I really understood at first is the way that it really was funded by all different parts of Dutch society.
It was the people of the Netherlands who gave it to the people of the United States.
Right. But I think
for the help before and after World War II.
Right. But I think I assumed incorrectly that, this was just someone up high in the government who cut the check. And right, what's really amazing is that you have different segments of Dutch society who provided the funding for the bells. Mm-hmm. And when I'm up in the carillon, I can see each of the bells have different ornamentation representing the different segments of Dutch society that donated that bell, which is really, it's really special and makes it feel more personal being up there.
Yeah, I did a series of videos on those that I'll put a link in here. They're on our YouTube channel as well, about the ornamentation on the bells. And it was mostly tied to the three newest bells. We were promoting that. The three for George Marshall, MLK Jr., and Eleanor Roosevelt, that elevated the carillon to a grand carillon. That was part of the renovation that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Did you play this carillon before the renovation, or are you new to it?
I started learning how to play the carillon when I was at Michigan, and that was during the renovation itself.
Okay.
And then afterwards.
Yeah. So it's even though it's new, it's either way, it's new to you, right? So you don't have a basis of comparison between the former carillon playing cabin, and the one now.
No, I've heard recordings though. I think
Can you tell the difference in the recordings?
Yeah, you can.
You can.
What's been written about was that there's like some great scholarship by Diederik Oostdijk and Tiffany Ang on this, is that the idea for the carillon was that it was going to feature the bells for three different Dutch bell founders. Yeah. And it was going to be this analogy in the same way that you had all these bells representing Dutch society. It was supposed to represent everyone coming together to create this beautiful sound. The reality is that each of the bell founders made the bells in a little bit of a different way that gave them a different tone. Yeah. And so it didn't really blend that well. And one of the big steps in this recent renovation was that there was work done to make all of the bells ring more harmoniously together. So if you listen to some of the recordings or videos I can find, when I listen to them, the videos I can find online, I can hear the difference.
You can
now
hear
that I
could a non-musician hear it?
I think you probably could.
Okay.
If you compared the carillon today versus
side by side,
you could. I think. Okay. I don't know if I would just on the street know, but because I've been practicing so much, I'm knowing what it sounds like here. If people want to learn more about carillons in general, there is the Guild of Carillonneurs in North America, gcna.org. And you can find on there videos, information about the history of the carillon, where to take lessons, all sorts of information like that. And if you're traveling the world and trying to figure out, do you hear a carillon? Where can you find a carillon? There are directories on the GCNA website, as well as the World Carillon Federation, which is at carillon.org, has information as well. And if people are interested in learning more about the history of the Netherlands Carillon, there is the book Bells for America by Diederik Oostdijk. And Dr. Tiffany Ang, her dissertation actually had a chapter on the Netherlands Carillon, which I found very informative. And it's very interesting because it talks about the evolution of the relationship between the U.S. and the Netherlands through the Netherlands Carillon.
Well, great. Well, thank you. That's all we have time for today. Thank you again, Kevin, for joining me for this episode of Vijf Vragen. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please tell us what you think in the comments below, and be sure to click on the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode or the other videos we post on our YouTube channel. I'll be back behind the microphone next month with another member of the Dutch Diplomatic Network in the United States. Until then, you can keep up with our work on any of our social media channels: Facebook, X, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Just search for NL in the USA, and you can stay up to date on how the United States and the Netherlands have a partnership that works.